Welcome to another episode of Tea with Nataly. If you're joining me on YouTube, I do have my teacup with my favorite Bengali spice tea in it. And I've loved hearing from some of you, fellow fans of Bengali spice, and some of you have discovered it by listening. So I love that. So the Tea with Nataly episodes are these short solo episodes that I do where I just share one idea, something I'm thinking about, something I'd love for you to marinate on. And what I want to talk about today are the boxes we put ourselves in and giving yourself permission to rip them up and to live your life in a much more open way. And I want to tell you kind of what inspired me. It's something I've thought a lot about, but what inspired me to do this episode now is we're in the middle of my Reinventability Accelerator. It's something I absolutely love to lead. It's a small group mentorship program where this group of humans, everyone is focused on their reinvention. Some are launching a new book, a new podcast, a new business, a new phase of their life, a new part of their career. And it's this really incredible experience that I get to guide them together. And one of the things that we have to uncover about ourselves as we do that kind of work are like, what are the boxes that we put ourselves in? And there's this one woman in the accelerator, her name is Pam. And when we were kind of going around doing introductions, why are you here? What brought you here? She said, I've recently retired. I spent my life, as a nonprofit leader and in my community, and I've recently retired. And, I'm thinking about what's next. I'm not done. I'm 60. I'm kind of young, but I'm not quite sure what this next part is after I retired. And there's actually another woman in the group who had a similar phase of life. And I just noticed that Pam would use that quite a bit. She would say, well, I'm retired, and I'm retired. And so I challenged her. I said, Pam, you know what? I forbid you from saying I'm retired. In Japanese, there's actually no term for retirement. People just evolve. They do different things. They help take care of their grandkids, or they work in their local community. So I said, I challenge you. Do not say that. Do not say I'm retired. And, it's come up in a couple sessions where she shared, and a couple times she's sort of like, she would say something and she sort of, almost said it, but didn't. And I have seen, and I think she has experienced, it's this really opening feeling to not be in that box. Instead of saying I'm retired, to just say I'm entering a new phase of life. And so it got me thinking about how we all have these boxes that we put ourselves in. It could be a life phase thing, right? Like, now I'm an empty nester, so I'm retired, so, or, it could be the way we do it in terms of our abilities, right? Like, oh, I'm not very technical. Oh, I'm really bad at technical stuff. As I started to listen for this more, especially with the leaders that I work with, it's things like even, I'm really type A, or I have a monkey brain, or I'm always like overdoing and running. And there's a subtlety there between, of course, we need some kind of self-identity, right? Like, we need a sense of a self-concept, right? So we can't like eliminate all descriptors. But the difference there is, and I want you to notice as you're listening, like when we apply these boxes to ourselves that limit us, right? So like me saying I'm a mom or a wife or a really creative person, that doesn't limit me. That's actually a beautiful thing. Like, it's a big part of who I am. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm an artist. I'm literally wearing my art today, and the art is around me. So that doesn't limit me. But saying, for example, oh, I'm 49 and I'm not sure I can launch a whole new business. I don't know, that's very limiting. Or saying, I'm not really good at sales. Just, I'm picking stuff that I've said, right? Or, I'm not someone who is great at managing a team. I've managed teams for a long time in my career, and then I have taken a break from that. I work with a lot of freelancers. Obviously, I have my speaking team and my publishing team and lots of teams, but I don't manage anyone day to day. But that doesn't mean I'm in this box where this is what I'm bad at, this is what I don't do. So I want you to just notice how often you put yourself in that box where you define yourself so tightly that you eliminate or you limit the new directions or the new dimensions of yourself that you could expand. It's kind of, I get on my soapbox about this when people say, "Oh, I'm not creative, Nataly." So I get on the soapbox because what does that mean? If you are a human being, you are creative, like literally by definition, because creativity is simply expressing something with your unique point of view. So you are creative. You're doing it all the time. When you speak, when you think, when you arrange things in your house, you're constantly creating. But when you put yourself in this box of "I'm not creative," well, immediately you are blocking things off. You're blocking off possibilities. You're blocking off even things you pay attention to, right? I probably mentioned this because I talk about this a lot, but your brain has this part of in your brain. It's called the reticular activating system. You don't have to remember this, but essentially it's kind of like a bouncer for your brain. And what I mean by that is it decides what you pay attention to. And we direct the reticular activating system. So if you constantly say to yourself, "I am not creative, I am not creative," then you're not paying attention to opportunities to explore your creativity because "I'm not creative." You block them off. It makes me think of, there's another woman in the Reinventability Accelerator. Her name is Paula. And I've known her for a bit. She's done some other leadership work with me. And one of the reasons that she joined the Accelerator was because she wanted to explore her creative side. She's kind of, as she said, like, she has a great job. She leads a team at work. She has a wonderful family. She's been taking care of her kids. She has 4 kids. But like, she's sort of forgotten who she is. And one part of herself that she wanted to experience and explore and grow is her creative part. But she had a lot of doubt. Like, she had a lot of doubt of, am I really creative? Can I do it? And then she, as part of the Accelerator, everyone chooses a pivotal project that they're going to work on as a way to unlock future possibilities. And so her pivotal project that she chose is to illustrate this book with her son that he is writing. And it's been a dream of hers for a long time. And so that she chose that, even though it was very she had to like get out of that box of "I'm not creative" or "I can't do it." And in our last sessions, she was sharing just the impact of just taking these daily actions. Like, she has hired an illustrator, she is exploring self-publishing. And she said, I like this beliefs of like, "I'm not creative" or "I can't do it." They're just like, yeah, they still come up, but it's not this firm box, because she's like, "I am capable. I am doing it. I am being creative." So just another example to recognize that, we all, again, we have these stories we tell about ourselves. We have these, a self-concept of ourselves, and just to question when you're putting yourself in a box that is limiting your joy, that is blocking you or preventing you from unlocking the life you really want. Right. And I see this in all kinds of settings. I often work with companies and teams at companies, and I hear this, and sometimes it's subtle. And by the way, if you lead a team, or if you lead others, you can do a huge service for people you lead by listening for their boxes and to helping them loosen them and rip them up and do something outside of them. But I hear this a lot in companies, like, where people will say, "I'm not really good with like details," or "I'm not technical enough," or whatever that is. And it's usually a not often, or it's the opposite. I've been in this industry for 20 years. Like, this is who I am. I'm an ad person. I'm an advertising person, or I am a content writer person, or I'm whatever it is. Well, yes, that is what you have done. It is not who you are. And if you constantly kind of just tell yourself, put yourself in that box, it limits your growth, because you're going to be much less likely to explore that job opportunity in your company that's maybe calling to you, but like, "Oh, well, I'm not a creative person," or "I'm not a content person," right? So the more that we can loosen and rip apart like these boxes that we put ourselves in, the more surface area, the more possibility that we create for trying new things, for discovering things that maybe we never thought about doing, but that really are like that feel aligned with us. So I want you to, like, this is your homework for this week, is I want you to start paying attention to when you're putting yourself in a box. So, and again, the boxes you want to be looking out for are boxes that limit you, right? The boxes where you're defining yourself so firmly, where you're taking a quality that you have and you're making it like defining of who you are. And I just want you to notice, because the beautiful thing is just noticing is very powerful. And then you can ask yourself, like, is this a box that I want to live in? And if the answer is, oh, there's actually no, like, I want to have more freedom. Well, my obsession, my bias, my obsession, my core value of taking action. Well, just like Paula will take an action that's outside of that box that kind of, makes like a rip in it. I'm making all these weird sound effects today that makes a rip in it for you to like have an opening for you to explore something more. So that's your homework for the week. And I didn't say this at the beginning. I meant to. I'm going to take a sip of my tea, I meant to do this before I started talking, because I've been talking a lot, but I always invite you to listen to these episodes and have a cup of tea or coffee, but I forgot to say this at the beginning. So maybe listen again, go get a cup of tea, or don't listen, go get a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you like, and just marinate on, reflect on, what are the boxes that you put yourself in? And what are the boxes that are limiting you? And how could you make a little crack in them? And how good would it feel to not be in that box? Like, what would it be like if you didn't put that box around yourself? If you could just like have a lot more openness in how you talk about yourself and to yourself. That's your homework for this week. I always invite you. I'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, Nataly, Nataly @happier.com. Let me know what resonated with you, what you uncovered, what other topics you'd love for me to talk about on this podcast, whether it's in my Tea with Nataly episodes or interviews I do with awesome humans. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you, if you're on YouTube, and be in your ear, as I started to say, for our next episode.